My name is Matt Cook and I am part of a group of live musicians that you've probably never heard of. We don't rely on the X Factor and we don't rely on record labels. We are fighting against that X Factor mentality. How many times have you been at a gig and somebody has said, wow, that was really good, you should take it on the X Factor? Well, that's not how it works anymore. It's not a career path. I teach musicians how to get their own gigs and how to get their message out there. I mean, think about it like this. Why would anybody ever give you a gig if you were a better musician than they were? I'm Matt Cook, the full-time musician, and if you want to know how you can be a full-time musician, you're in the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. My name is Matt Cook. I'm a full-time musician. I've been doing this for well over 10 years. I've probably been playing music since I was 18, so that's minimum 20 years there. The main thing that I think you're here for is to learn how you can actually get gigs in and how you can basically keep the money coming in. I mean, the course is called the Full-Time Musician course, and I truly believe that you can do this. Okay, I've never met somebody I couldn't help. I mean, we can get a certain degree of success in absolutely any sort of business using these strategies. I mean, if we were selling toilet plungers, these are the techniques. So this is not just sort of like my theory. This is I've studied marketing and internet marketing, all of these things, and I'm a musician as well. So all I've really done is take my knowledge of marketing and all of these things, and just transferred it into music, so that you don't have to really, you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. I was on the phone to a friend of mine the other night, and he rang me up. He said, Matt, I'm spending £2,000. I'm going to record a single. I'm going to do a small tour, and I'm going to try and get my music out there. And he's a guy that I really like, but I know that he approached it in the wrong way. What he was going to do was, play the gigs. He's going to record the record, and it's good stuff. It's good music. And he was going to play the record, record it. He was going to go out, do a couple of gigs, and sell the record. And then I said to him, so what are you going to do after that? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, once the tour is over, let's call him John, okay, because I don't want to use his real name. When the tour is over, John, how are people going to be able to find, John's music? He said, well, they'll have bought it. I said, but it doesn't work like that. I said, if you, and I know this from pure experience, and maybe you know this too. It sort of works like this. If I play all over the country, I'm from the UK, so if I played 100 gigs all over the country, length and breadth, and I sold CDs, and I probably sold, 10 CDs a night, and played to 100 or 200 people. I mean, that wouldn't be bad. You'd be making some money that would keep you on the road. But then when I stop touring, and I come back at the end of that year, and I'll sit down and I go, great, I enjoyed that, but it's not really a valid strategy. I mean, it used to work in the old days, because what would happen is somebody from a record label might be at the back of the room and they might say, oh, hey, I saw this guy, Matt Cook, he was brilliant. Let's take him back to back to our label. Let's spend, a few $100,000 on him and we'll put him out there. It doesn't work like that anymore. If you want to get signed to a major label, the first thing that the label is going to ask these days is, how much do you have on your Twitter, on your Facebook, how many followers have you got? You've got to have done the bulk of the work yourself already before a label will even be interested in you. And these days, they don't give you cash advances, they're loans anyway. So if you don't pay that money back, out of your own record sales, you get dropped like a hot stone. They will drop you like this. So I said to him, look, this is not the way to go. And if you've had, I know this has happened to me, and I'm guessing that you're having similar issues. Now, the total new way that you need to think about it is that you need to be working in terms of gaining details from people. So what I would do is instead of just running around and touring the gigs all over the UK like a headless chicken, what you need to be doing is you need to be firing people's email addresses into a piece of software called an email autoresponder. Now I can show you how to set this up if you want. The email autoresponder will essentially allow you to take an email address off somebody, and put it into the software, either on your phone or your laptop, your iPad, whatever you're using, and it will literally send that person an email that contains whatever you decide it needs to contain. So my personal one is I say, I'm at my gig and I say the name of the website, and that takes people into a place where they can sign up to get on this mailing list. And my mailing list gives away a hell of a lot of free music. It gives away my gig diary. It gives away all my contact details, my availability, my pricing. And then we follow up automatically using the mailing software with a number of different emails that then allows the customer to get to know us a little bit more, so we can sort of build that interaction with the customer so they care about us. But what we're doing is we're offering them free music in order to get that first contact. So I play a song, and if I play one of my own songs, I've got a song called Letting Go, and I play it at a gig. And I say, hey, ladies and gents, if you like that song, then I'm absolutely willing to email you that for free. So come and see me at the end of the gig, or have somebody write down emails, have somebody go around. And like every gig, you could possibly take up to 10, 20, 30 or more email addresses of potential customers. Now, what that will do is allow you to then follow up these customers. What you might want to do with these customers is be able to say, oh, hey, I do this, I do that, I offer this particular product or these gigs or that gig. Now, every single person on that emailing list will know somebody who's getting married, or somebody who owns a bar, or somebody who's got a big party coming up, or a birthday party, house party. So essentially, if you think about it, imagine if you had 1,000 people in that emailing list. I've got more than that. Imagine if you've got 1,000 people, and you say, oh, hey, I need a gig for this Friday. You put an email into that emailing system, and you're gonna get that gig. You've met these people, they're predisposed towards you, they're gonna go for it. Now, the other side of this is that you've got this emailing list. So what will normally happen, the way I teach you to set it up is to set up a page that people enter their email address in to join the mailing list. What you can then do is to take this page and advertise this page on Facebook. I believe Facebook is the best place to go. So what we do then is we offer the customer the ability to be able to, we run an advert targeting the customer based on artists that we sound like. So I sound a bit like Damien Rice, Ed Sheeran, James Bay maybe, and I target fans of those people. Now it works out around about a penny British, so similar, about a cent American, to put that impression of an advert in front of somebody. And the advert that I run says something like, hey, check it out, Matt Cook's available for gigs this month at I charge up to £400. And then the person clicks on it, they get taken to that page to enter in their email address. So what happens then is they go straight to that email address without you having to lift a finger. You don't have to do anything here, right? So they go to that page, they put their email address in, and then they get sent, a free album or a free track, or, free this, free that. It's up to you how much you want to give away. But basically, you tell them what the price is going to be in that email. And the whole point of this is it happens automatically. So you're sat on your back, you're lying on your back, you're chilling out, loving life. And then at that point that they join your emailing list, they're basically going to be pretty much sold, because I believe you put your price on your advert so that nobody calls you unless they're interested. They're price conditioned. We already know they like the type of music that you're offering, and we already know that they're basically going to need live music because they've answered the gig. I mean, they've answered the advert. If you can't sell that gig, I'd be really surprised. And so what you do is, if you spend, say, $5, which is 500 cents, and it'll put about, it'll do more, but it normally does more, but it'll do at least 500 impressions of that advert. Essentially what you're doing is you're putting out that video, and that video is like gigging to 500 people. It's far, far cheaper than going out there and playing open mics, because you're actually playing in front of 500 people, which is like a packed club, and you're doing it every single day. If you're spending $5 a day, you're doing it every single day. Come rain, come shine, you're going out in front of thousands and thousands of people. Of course, the way we run the adverts is if people are interested in your products, they'll just basically click, and the next thing you know is your phone will go in your pocket and it'll say, hey, somebody's just signed up for your mailing list. And then you can just sit back and relax, safe in the knowledge that you've already emailed them all the details they need for the gig, your availability, which is just a link to your website. Presumably, if you need help with setting that up, then click on the link on the page. I've got a full course you can take. And then you can basically, set up the whole damn thing to run itself, so that the first thing you hear is a customer will just email you and say, hey, I'd like to use you for this date, are you available? And then by the time they come in and say that to you, you're basically sold. Now, another big part of this is if we're going out at £400 or $400, it might sound like a lot. I'm a solo guy. I mean, I've done big things. I've got the Grammy nomination. I work with Jethro Sheeran. I work with one of the stars from the X Factor. I've done big things. But I was using this method, and this is the method that got me into the place where people were interested in me enough so that agencies came to me and asked me to start working with them. And what will happen is, if you charge your 400, or however much you're willing to, that you think you can basically charge, that you think you're worth, and it's up to you. I recommend never less than $200, never less, and there's no ceiling really. There's no ceiling, because when you're charging that amount of money, you can afford to spend, say, $100 just to meet one customer who's going to give you $200. Yeah. So when you're advertising for a gig, if I'm doing it in Britain, I imagine to myself, right, I want to keep £300 out of the 400 that I'm going to charge. So on every single gig, I can afford to spend £100 in advertising to meet one customer, because all I've got to do is meet that customer, and I'd like double or triple my money. This is called a high ticket item. Okay, we're not trying to sell a $3.99 download or a $9.99 physical single. We're basically we're trying to sell quite a big product. We're going to come out, we're going to sell that, and we want a few $100 to do it. So of course you then factor in that amount of money that you can then charge the customer to basically pay for the advertising for you to get the next work. If you're able to spend, $100 or $200 to meet one customer that wants to buy you, you're going to be absolutely killing it. Now, this is only the same strategies that music agents and music managers have been using for absolutely decades, and they don't want you to know this stuff, because this is how they make their money. If you've ever done work with an agency, you'll sort of say, right, yeah, I'd like my $200 for doing the gig, and then you talk to the customer, and they're paying like 320 from where the advertising agency or the music management agency is charging 320, and they're giving you 200. But so where does that extra 120 go? I'd say half of it goes in their pocket, but the other half is finding the customer. They're probably spending about £60 or $60, roughly the same these days, in order to meet that customer. Now set that up for yourself. And when you go out there and you play that gig to that person, what you must do is play that gig as good as you can. Nobody plays perfectly, but you do that gig as good as you can. Turn up early, do a little bit extra for the customer, so that when you leave, they're coming away going, wow, Matt Cook was a great musician. And they're still on your mailing list. All right, so if you do a good job for one person, they'll book you again and again and again and again. Now imagine this mailing list, it's growing all the time. You're going out to gigs, you're getting people in on your mailing list with the promise of the free music, which you deliver. You're also running adverts, and you're putting your advert out, your video advert, in front of absolutely hundreds of people, thousands of people per month. And essentially, the whole thing starts to gain momentum. Once you get 2 or 3 people on that mailing list, you'll start getting 1 or 2 gigs in. And then when you start getting 100 people on that mailing list, you'll start getting maybe 10 gigs in every month. And if you ever get to the point, and I know you can, where you get 1,000 people in that mailing list, you're going to have enough work to carry you and your band throughout the whole of throughout the whole of the year. You've basically cracked it. At that point, you start taking your day job down by a couple of days, and in the end, what will happen is your entire job will be waking up later than normal, because we stay up late to do our gigs. That's what we do. And your whole day will be practicing music, writing music, living for music, like it should be, because that's what we are. We're musicians, and I'm genuinely in this to get people out of that mindset of, music is a loser's career, it's for losers. Well, it isn't, because when I've got a background in law, and when I got out of my job, I basically found out that if I made this much, I'm not going to brag to you about money, and I'm not bragging, but you have to know this, I have to tell you this. If I made this much money, call that a month's wage, I make this much money now. I triple my monthly wage, and I'm doing what they call this loser's career. I remember being in university with a couple of guys, and then I came out of uni, and I hated it. I didn't follow up in the law. I'm qualified, but I didn't follow up. I didn't work in the area. And I remember busking one day because of the love of music. I was busking in the middle of a town centre, and one of the guys that knew I studied law came up to me and said, oh, hey, so you've given up on law then, have you? And he made me feel this small, man. He made me feel this small. But now I'm confident I make more money than him because I've got a lot of different things going on. And this is what you can do. So don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do this, okay? Because you absolutely can, all right? It's if somebody's telling you, oh, look, music's not a real career, there's no money to be made unless you make it to the big leagues. Well, that's not true at all. I make 2 or 3 times what I do in an office job or in a standard job. So don't let people put you off this, okay? It can be done. So use this technique, set up Facebook adverts into an email autoresponder sequence, and then follow up with an email sequence that lets people know what you're about. Give them the free stuff. You can even put in price drops. If you're having a really quiet month, put in a price drop and work for 20% off, and your gigs will start flying out. So set that up. If you know how to set it up, then take it and run with it. And if this has helped you, then please do just send me a video to this email address. Just click reply or put a comment down below and just say, look, Matt knows what he's talking about. This has worked for me. If you don't know how to set it all up and you want further info, I've got a course that you can click on. There's a link below me on the page with buy now written on it or something, or purchase now or something. So click the link if you want more info. Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Just put in some, hit me up, put a comment down below, and click like. If you've got any questions, let me know what they are. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Take care, and most importantly, do not give up. My name is Matt Cook, and I am part of a group of live musicians that you've probably never heard of. We don't rely on the X Factor, and we don't rely on record labels. We are fighting against that X Factor mentality. How many times have you been at a gig and somebody has said, wow, that was really good, you should take it on the X Factor? Well, that's not how it works anymore. It's not a career path. I teach musicians how to get their own gigs and how to get their message out there. I mean, think about it like this. Why would anybody ever give you a gig if you were a better musician than they were? I'm Matt Cook, the full-time musician, and if you want to know how you can be a full-time musician, you're in the right place.